It's a little after 8:30. I'll call this morning's meeting to order. We do have a two agenda additions, the adoption of Resolution 2018-27 for sponsorship of the MPCA grant app, and then the approval of MOA with Share House.
I'll move approval with additions.
We have a motion to approve with an addition and a second, motion by Campbell, second by Wayland. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Citizens to be heard. Are there any citizens wishing to speak on anything not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move into the approval of the payment of bills and vouchers.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Whalen and a second by Commissioner Haney. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We have presented the May 22nd and June 5th meeting minutes.
Move approval.
We have a motion to approve as presented from Commissioner Haney.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Campbell. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We do have recognitions for donations in memory of Gina Nolte for Partnership for Health and Rethink Mental Health. We have $371 in donations. Thank you very much to the individuals from St. James United, individuals for those donations. And then we also have a $200 donation from St. James United Church for the jail work details, so thank you. Our item number 2 is a request approval for employee leave of absence and request hiring a temporary roster. Pamela Harris.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. And I'm here on behalf of Mr. Melton today. The request to the board is we hired an attorney, Mike Kuna, on May 22nd. When we hired him, he did advise us of his status. He's not a citizen at this point, but he has what they call an EAD card for employment. He did advise us of that. He indicated it expires on July 6th, and then he will have to get another one. So we were aware of that when we hired him. It's now getting close to that July 6th. He has applied for it. I'm sorry, I've been told by and I've been in contact with his immigration attorney, it could take 1 to 4 months to get that card. In that time, he cannot work or be paid. He can volunteer at places, but he cannot be paid. So our request is that he be placed on unpaid leave for 30 to 120 days, and then we would reassess. He would not receive any benefits. He would not be paid. And originally our thought was that he could work in our office doing volunteer type or intern type stuff. And speaking with his attorney, there's a very gray area of the duties that he could do or couldn't do in our office, and rather than leave the county open to any sort of liability in that, we are just going to say that when his card expires on the 6th of July, he won't be able to come into the office and do any legal duties for us at all during that time period. So he won't be in the office after July 6th, but we need the unpaid leave to start on June 30th, because I've been told by Human Resources, June 30th. If he's not off by June 30th, he will get benefits, health benefits for the month of July. He can't receive that. So the unpaid leave would start June 30th. He would work in our office until July 6th, when he would not receive payment. That would be completely volunteer for that week. And then after July 6th, he would be out of our office completely until he receives that card, which we're hoping, and we're working with the senator in North Dakota to get that expedited. His attorney said he's had pretty good success working with John Hogan over in North Dakota, getting government type employees pushed through with their cards faster. So we're hoping within 30 to 60 days he will have that card, and then he will be back in the office. During that time, since he's on probation, his probation would stop. That would toll. So when he comes back, his probation period would start again, and his benefits and his pay would start again.
Brian?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I guess I have a couple questions. I'm not totally familiar with this, but there's certain issues that the board can grant of leave of absence, and what would this fall under?
This, I believe, is the personal leave that the department head can approve if it's less than 30 days without board approval, but if it's more than 30 days, it's my understanding the board needs to approve it.
Madam Chair, I guess I'm looking at HR, because I know it's in policy.
There's some categories, but we do have
He
the
should come
ability
in.
to approve unpaid leave.
Up to the mic.
Darren, can you come to the microphone, please?
Sure.
I think we have to be specific as to what we're identifying,
Right.
why the leave of absence. And I guess I also do have a concern of him volunteering in the office in July and not paying him. I would rather see it be leave of absence effective till June 30th and not be coming into the office to resume work that we're going to have to deal later. You're only talking about a few days, and I guess I don't think we should go down that path.
Right.
Yeah, technically, he can work till July 6th and still get paid for that.
No, he cannot.
He cannot,
He cannot. He would have to be done June 30th.
for benefit reasons.
Yes.
Yes, but as far as, and we don't want to start the benefits and then have him immediately go on unpaid leave for that amount of time. So there are some categories, but I think in this case, I mean, we've never had this case before. We've never had this type of case before that I can remember where
So he has to,
somebody comes in and he's incapable of working until he gets his work.
so he has to be done by the 30th this week,
Correct.
right?
That
For
would
the
be,
benefit
that would be
purposes.
the clean cut to have it done, start on July 30th. That way he's not getting benefits, he's not going into the next payroll. And then as soon as he gets his paperwork and approved, then he would be allowed to come back and work.
I just have a question. Did we know this was coming forward? This is the first I've heard of it, so is this something that just kind of recently has kind of come to light, that he cannot work until, he has to be done on the 30th?
We knew when we hired him that he was going to have to renew that card. We thought at that time he would be able to volunteer or work as an intern and not be paid. And then when I spoke with his immigration attorney, he was explaining how it's a pretty gray area of what duties he could do or couldn't do. He can't do the same type of duties that an attorney would do, so he wouldn't be able to go up to court. If he wanted to mow lawn for the county, he could do that on a volunteer basis and not get paid. That's fine. But the fact he's hired for the county to do attorney work is the reason that we have to put him on the unpaid leave, and he can't come in and even volunteer or be an intern. We didn't know that until last week,
How long has he been working for us? You probably
May
mentioned.
22nd. He started.
And at the time of his application, the time that he was interviewed and selected, he was capable of working in that capacity. We didn't find out until he in process with this, and we saw, we take the identification cards as part of the in process, and saw that his work permit runs out on July 7th. 6th. The 6th would be his last day, the 7th is.
Do we have any other people in the county working under this situation?
Madam Chair, not that I'm familiar with. Would it
It's
be
kind of a unique situation for this one.
possible, Madam Chair, for us to take just a few minutes with this, and you could continue on, and we could step out and
Yeah, I'd like to
decide a
iron out
motion?
some of it. It's a little gray.
Yeah.
I know you said there's a gray area, but it's a little too gray for me.
Yeah, me too.
So,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
let's move on to the next agenda item. You can go to all of them. All right, Stephen Larson, request approval to fill a vacated position for the juvenile counselor in the Secure program. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning. We recently had a resignation in our secure unit. One of our staff members recently got married, and he and his new bride are moving to North Carolina to start their new life together. And so we have an opening in our secure unit that we are requesting to fill. Based on the worksheet calculations, we'll see a small savings in this position. It is factored into our 2018 budget.
Okay. And you're requesting any backfill that may arise?
That's correct.
I move approval of the hire with backfill.
We have a motion to approve the request with possible backfill by Commissioner Campbell
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Gross. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take your agenda edition. We have Kathy McKay and Troy Amundson. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for taking the late agenda item. We just received this on Friday. This is an MOA with Share House, and they are writing this as part of their substance use demonstration project, and they need to have a facility that can provide the detox services for Minnesota clients that they serve. Of course, we are the closest detox facility that meets those requirements. So there's nothing that changes as far as funding goes. They continue to provide clients to us, or refer clients to us, excuse me, currently. So this is just a formal process that they need for that demonstration project. The benefit for us, actually, as Troy and I did some more investigating yesterday, is that as the partner signature, we may be able to bill MA earlier for when we become a withdrawal management program in July of 2019. That's the first time that we'll be able to do withdrawal management. But as a provider of this, they're telling us we will be able to bill MA earlier than July of 2019. Potentially, it may be the last quarter of this year. So there is actually a benefit for us as a provider of the services for Share House.
All right, any questions from the board?
I'm going to approve.
We have a motion to approve the request by Commissioner Whalen,
Second.
a second by Commissioner Gross. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right, well, if you're ready, go back to our item number 2. All right.
Okay. So specifically, what our request is that Mike Kuna be granted personal leave under the personnel policy for up to 120 days, beginning after June 30th. He will start that leave after June 30th. And it would be unpaid leave.
Okay. And it qualifies in the personnel policy?
Yes.
Okay. So for up to 100 days.
So moved.
Pardon?
120.
I'm sorry, 120 days.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve the request by Commissioner Wayland
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Gross.
What type of card is it that he was here with?
It's called an EAD card.
I believe it's employment authorization
Okay.
document.
And usually what is the length of term of one of those cards?
In most situations, it's every year that he has to apply. He
Okay.
can apply for it 6 months and 10. Now, because after he gets this one, he's going to get his green card,
Okay,
which then the status changes. And that's the only hang-up is this time is his status was changing from a non-immigrant to an immigrant. And that, so he couldn't really apply for the next one until this one
and
expires.
the green cards last a lot longer.
10
Yes.
years.
And will he be volunteering?
No.
All right, further questions? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Darren, do you want to stay up? We do have your resolution, approval of the resolution 2018-26 for the 2018 Performance Measurement Program.
Yeah, this is something that started probably about 6 or 7 years ago. It's an annual thing that I can work with for a resolution. I know there's been discussion before on whether we should continue to participate or not, but the state does give us, like last December, we got $8,804 for participation in the program. And right now, for 2017, I looked up that 32 cities and 24 counties participate in this program. What ends up happening is we have a laundry list of things that we look at, public safety, probation, public works, public health, and social services. And it's kind of a tracking method of how are we doing in the county. So what we do is we also put on our website a survey for citizens to complete, and that's part of this report as well. And then I go to each department and get the statistics for last year's, for this year's report. So this year's report is due, or last year's report is due on July 1st, and this would be a resolution to continue it for 2018, which the report would then be due in July of 2019. It's not, when we first started this report, it was kind of a pain in the neck, but as we've gotten used to doing it, and the information is pretty much already available, and it's something that the departments track already, so it's not a lot of, I don't think it's a lot of extra work for them. I've been able to compile it pretty quickly now. And so that's why I would appreciate the resolution of to continue it for 2018.
Okay.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve Resolution 2018-26 by Commissioner Gross.
Second.
A second by Commissioner Campbell. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Hey, Dave. Dave, are you waiting on anyone? All right, we'll take yours if you're ready. All right, item number 5 is a discussion of Highway Department review of planning and zoning CUPs. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, see, this has become more and more conditional use permits are highway related, and they have issues with access management. And we've been kind of meeting with our planning director as well as our highway committee and kind of going over our process and reviews on these. And we feel we could probably improve our process by putting together a little bit of a review form. We put that together, we ran it through highway committee, and in fact, we've actually used it one time already. And one of the discussion points was that if we have this extra review time, should there be some additional staff charges for it? Just to cover the time that we have into this thing. So I would recommend we look at maybe a $25 charge. It would be in addition to the $200 that's part of the actual conditional use. I think it's going to cover our bases a little bit better. It should make it a little more smooth for the planning commission as well.
Well, and I think I was one of the ones that was really critical about how Highway made recommendation to those permits, because at the planning commission, it's often, well, this is what Highway would like to see. Well, if we don't have anything written down on a paper, it's just kind of taken. This is an official way to say exactly where the county stands, and quite frankly, it was a really smooth transaction at the last permit that we saw. It really reduces the gray area, and then two, if it will result in some bottlenecks or problems on the highway, I think we're able to kind of address them before they arise.
Yeah, make our life a little easier too. Expectations are more clear. I believe we talked about having highway review all conditional use permits. They don't all contain access management and highway related issues, but at least we will give them a good look, and there's a kind of an applicable portion of this one as well. Some permits will take more time. They may require site visits, more than one, phone calls, and other permits might be rather quickly, but I guess balancing them out, that we think $25 is fair, and we do plan on tracking that as well for the next year, so just to see if we're on track with that or not.
Okay.
And I think the thought process with that fee was, obviously, it's not gonna cover the entire bit, that's why we pay taxes, but if it, you know, if you do have to do a site visit out to Spring Prairie, it's taking additional staff time from your department.
I agree with that. I think it's, you know, we talked about it in highway tracking, and one of the things we did talk about was the purpose of the fee, and you know, the additional $25 would be unique to that applicant, and so it's, you know, it does become, in essence, a user fee type of a deal that, so our highway committee certainly recommends approval of this, and so I guess I would move that we authorize the use of this review form as well as the requested additional $25 to the CUP application.
Second.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Campbell and a second from Commissioner Gross. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, the second item that you have, I think Brian just stepped out, but he can comment on this too, is the approved consulting service contract with Barb Road and Associates.
Yeah, there is another round of what used to be called Tiger grants, but now they're called Build discretionary grants. I believe there's about $1.5 billion set aside for this. These have been highly unsuccessful for our county, but we have, I think we put in at least 3 different grants. We would again be interested in trying to work with Barb Road and Associates to put in a build application. I believe we would look at the Glendon site again. That's our, you know, it's a federal aid project. It's got railroad issues. It's got school bus issues. It's got a lot of pedestrian improvements that can be made. There's multi-jurisdictions involved in the cooperative project, and not only that, but it's all ready to go. All the right-of-way is purchased, all the plans are approved. So we would like to again work with Rody and Associates. It would be underneath almost the same type of agreement that we had last time, kind of a pro bono type of a agreement. We've got another, I think she had an additional 30 hours, I believe, for, maybe it was 500 hours, but it was additional $30,000. If we get a grant in excess of $1.25 million, then the consulting fee would be $120,000, so it would be less than 10%.
I thought it was 1.1 million.
Well, she agreed to be a little more generous.
Oh, well, that's-
So that threshold bumped up just a little bit.
Dave, I've got a question about the Build grant system. I know that the Tiger grant system had a significant down payment that you had to submit with the application. Do you have to do that with a Build grant as well?
I don't remember having an application fee, to be honest.
Okay, maybe I'm incorrect. Maybe I extrapolated from the city experience that we had on the 21st Street
I don't
project.
remember us having an application fee.
Okay, great.
It was a lot of staff time, and they do have benefit cost type things, and that's, for us, that's one of the hurdles, is trying to correctly put together that benefit cost in the way that they want to see it.
Good.
We had a lot of discussion, this is our meeting, and I can't see how we would not want to go with this, so I make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the request from Commissioner Gross
I'll second it with
and a second from Commissioner Campbell for the
Yep.
discussion.
Yeah, thank you. The old Tiger grant, didn't they, first off, I don't, you know, you said it hasn't been favorable to Clay County, it hasn't been favorable to the state of Minnesota.
Absolutely. Last year, there was not one project
Yeah.
from Minnesota. And, you know, I'm a little incorrect. We did actually get some federal aid money years ago. Not that, we got about $250,000 or $300,000 of TCSP money, I believe it was called. So I guess we did get some money.
So this Build grant, do they, the application submittals for something like that, do they have big do they break it down, big projects and small projects?
There's a rural segment that.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, didn't we encourage Oakport
Yep.
and Dilworth and them to?
And that was the local road improvement program.
Okay, so that was a different grant then?
Yep, that was state monies, and there was categories for counties There's categories for small cities and townships
Okay.
in that one. But this one's real similar. They do have a rural segment that a certain amount of this money is set aside for rural projects that we're hoping that we would fit nicely.
So the rural project, when we're talking about it, would be that Linden project.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, so we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, our next item is the consideration of temporary services for planning and zoning office. Brian?
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the commission. I think if you notice on your agenda, it does say that there's an addendum to this, and frankly, I received the information at 2:30 yesterday afternoon, and you know what we were doing at 2:30 yesterday afternoon, so I did I did send it out to you, and I also did forward the contract to Jenny Shmaraja, and we researched a few different companies and had some contacts with Hometown Planning out of Alexandria, and received really some favorable reviews on people that have used them. I did talk with Travis County. I talked with a firm in Staples that highly recommended Ben Olson with Hometown Planning. And so I went back and communicated a little more with Hometown Planning. We went to their websites. It looked very appealing. And what he is offering us is, we talked about 15 to 20 hours, and the note that he sent back to me is that he's offering, 15 hours a week. He'd be here for the planning sessions. He'd be in the office if we want him to be. He can do things online. As long as he has access to our GIS and any information that we have. His rate would be $90 an hour. IRS, of course, rate for mileage for traveling. Travel time is at the rate of $90 an hour as well, and I think I did mention to you folks that I may try to visit with him about that and see how many trips it is. Maybe we're not talking about a lot of different additional dollars, but I think, and he's available, he would be willing to start July 1st, which is next week. He will come up, we're trying to set up a meeting this week so that he could meet with Tim and hopefully Jenny and Lynn, so that we could, and Colleen as well, because we're going to try and stay on top of this so that we have a path forward. And I think this gives you folks then a little breathing room as to where you want to go with the planning and land management office and things along those lines. So I feel pretty comfortable that this will work in the interim. And I know Jenny has reviewed the contract as well, so she put in some evening hours as well. And so we'd certainly entertain any comments that she has on it. But it's pretty basic and forward. We talked a minute just in the hallway and said that, it looks good. She said maybe some minor adjustments, and we could certainly, if you guys wanted to agree to this and move forward with her approval of the contract, that we could probably work within those parameters.
Okay.
Do some counties, I know this is temporary, but do some counties go permanently with this company?
Madam Chair and Commissioner Gross, yes, they do. Yep. Yeah, things are, it's nice to have, and I told Mr. Olson that we would have a person on the ground here to greet the public and inform them whether if our administrative assistant in that office does leave in the immediate future, we would then hire some temporary service, or whatever, to put somebody in that desk to fill that void. So. But yes, they do. To answer your question, some of them contract that because it's a very technical field, and there's probably not a lot of good
When
monitor.
is Lynn leaving her position?
We're not sure yet, Madam Chair. And in fact, yeah, we haven't received any notification
Okay.
from her, so it's been a courtesy information from her, I guess, to say.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I have reviewed the contract. I know it was just submitted, so I wasn't able to make some changes to the draft, but there are a couple of just real technical changes, nothing that would affect the content of what Mr. Berg has described, but just more in line with what a county needs in terms of contracting responsibilities and state statutes. So I don't anticipate that being a problem, or that hometown would have a problem with that. So I would just ask that I have one last review before it's signed by the board.
Commissioner Campbell?
Thank you. Yeah, we need to act on this, and we need to, I certainly support this, but I do want to comment that I think we need to fast track this to get this process going as far as what the future looks like here. I know Commissioner Gross just asked the question about, can something like this be permanent? We need to remind ourselves that we have been and will probably continue to be the largest growing county in northwest Minnesota, and I really think that our citizens deserve somebody here who is accountable to Clay County in the long term. And so I think with that, I would move to go forward with this contract, and I don't know that we can put an ending date on it, but I would move subject to final review by our county attorney.
Okay, we have a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Motion by Commissioner Campbell, second by Commissioner Wayland. Discussion. Yes, Commissioner.
I mean, does this company say, well, if you're gonna hire us, we want a contract for at least 2 months, or they just say, well, 2 weeks is okay, or 1 month's okay, or?
Madam Chair and Commissioner Gross, what the contract we're signing is that says either party can eliminate the contract or within a 30-day notice. So we'd be hiring them for 30 days, which I think is reasonable.
Well, right,
So.
It could be 60.
It could be 60, absolutely, and.
It buys time mainly to make sure that these permits are not getting dropped
Absolutely,
in the interim.
yes.
Further discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Right.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam
Brian,
Chair.
do you want to do your MPCA?
Yeah, I do. And in your addendum addition, you had a resolution 2018-27. And all that does is confirm the action that you took before when you agreed to be the sponsoring agency for the MPCA grant application. And, a resolution is nothing more than a motion put in formal form. So it's, in my view, it's not needed, but when somebody wants a resolution to accompany an application, then we give them a resolution. So, and that was kind of the case here.
Well, and I think it's important now that both watersheds have acted in support of what the request was. I think it is a formality. I think it's
Yes.
important.
Yep. So I guess what I'm saying is you're not taking any additional action of what you didn't already take. This is just formalizing the action that you took.
Oh, okay. All right.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve 2018-27.
Second.
And a second. Further discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
All right, we're a little ahead of schedule. Can we do, Kevin, do you want to do your committee report?
Okay. I can do that. On June 19th, we had a highway tracking committee meeting, and we spent considerable time on the issue of the zoning application process and proposed fees. We did talk to Highway Department, our engineers, about taking an active role on some of the remaining work that's to be done on 9th Avenue and 9th, and possibly something on 10th Street, where we can, as you recall, we approved a $30,000, I think we did that, didn't we, Brian? Before?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we also asked our highway if there's any way that they could help by doing some in-kind work, if we could lower that cost on that. So we had some discussion there, and that is in the process. Our highway department is going to be involved with the 9th Avenue piece that was not part of the original project. So they will be putting together some pricing for us. It's still part of the jail and LEC project, but it wasn't incorporated in the scope of the current bid. So then we talked about, there was a request for out-of-state travel that goes on, that's going to be in October, so I'm assuming, Dave, you're going to come to the board with that yet? Correct. To deal with that. And the same with the Tiger grant, which we talked about today. And then we did receive a construction update. And if, just for your information, the area that we're talking about where they're looking at doing some pricing on would be this area here, and then this area in pink on the campus. So I could pass that around to you. But so that was that, and then on the Thursday, the 21st, we had the Greater Fargo-Moorhead Economic Development meeting, and Commissioner Whalen, who serves on the board for that, advisory board for that, maybe have some more, but we did get an update on the Career Workforce Academy, the strategic plan for 2018. And then we did hear from the local schools, and of course, there's other communities that are having real problems with overcrowding in their schools besides this side of the river. It seems to be happening everywhere. But and then we had 2 outgoing superintendents, or one superintendent of Fargo schools is retiring, as well as the M-State president is moving on. Peggy? Huh? No, at the tech.
M-State.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then, excuse me, then on yesterday, we had, in the morning, we had our juvenile center construction update process, and that, again, it's really early in its phases, and they're really just getting going on that project. And so there's nothing really earth-shattering to report there. Then we had right after that, we had the jail or correctional facility LEC meeting, and the LEC is about done.
Great news.
It is about done. They're doing punch lists right now, and I think the majority of the work that's left, you're seeing it being done outside in the front. But inside, there's the vast majority of it is done. They're talking about furniture coming in here probably starting on the 9th of July, and they'll be putting that all in place. And there's an awful lot of excitement amongst those who have been working on that. So
Is that going to be part of the ribbon cutting too, the law enforcement?
oh, yes. As a matter of fact, the event's going to take place in front of the LEC. Yeah. So. And then the correctional facility, that too is moving along quite well. They're down to, they have just 2 little areas of concrete left to pour inside that deals with the mezzanines and those types of things in there. Then they're doing a lot of painting still going on in there, and I believe they said that this week, or as of yesterday or something, the water was going to be live.
Mhm.
They've got the
Yeah.
water running throughout the facility now, and then they're getting ready to purify that, I guess you might want to call it, or...
Mhm. That's it, yeah.
Yeah,
Purify or sterilize it, or...
Sterilize it, purify it. So that there is also then telling you that that's getting very close to, and we're looking at the date for that to be turned over to our transition team to start the training process, I think is August 3rd.
Yeah.
Right, I think it's that August 3rd date. And then moving in September with our inmates. That concludes, and we did, of course, we had our interviews yesterday afterwards, so that concludes my report.
Well, and Madam Chair, I think Commissioner Campbell was there when the overall project manager was saying that, he said, we'll have to kind of tie everything together because there will be some contingencies that are coming back to the county. In other words, dollars.
Right.
So that's really important. That means that project is in under budget. So, we know there's lots of additional costs, but that was pretty good music to our ears, I thought.
Very good. And that concludes your report.
Yes.
All right. All right. Item number 8. As all of you know, in April, our county administrator told us that he would be moving on to the next phase of his life with his retirement in July, and so that kicked off a slurry of meetings to arrange for the advertisement and interviews for his replacement. In early May, late May, Commissioner Whalen and I was part of the initial screening committee that included the mayor of Holly, Jim Joy, and past Commissioner, past Commissioner Jerry Waller, and was part of that conversation to screen the first set of applicants. We did have a great pool. We did have first interviews a couple weeks ago, and as you know, yesterday we had interviews with 3 finalists. Those interviews showed that there are some phenomenally capable people that applied for that, specifically the internal candidates. It's always great to see the employees of Clay County do as well as they did. This board felt that there was an obvious choice of someone who really rose to the top that we felt would be a great leader to take over once Brian leaves, and quite frankly, I'm quite excited to work with this individual. I think that he will be a great asset to Clay County in terms of the administrator position. I don't know if anyone else has any other comments they'd like to make.
Yeah, I'd like to add that we had an excellent group of candidates for the position, and as always, it was a difficult decision, I think, for everybody to come to a resolution on, but I think we're all in agreement that we've made the right choice, and so does anybody else have anything to say? I'll make a motion if not. So.
Go ahead.
Okay, with that being said, I would like to make a motion to appoint Stephen Larson as Clay County's next county administrator and ask our current administrator to negotiate a salary based on qualification and level of experience. Mr. Larson will be on a 6-month probationary period, and upon satisfactory performance will be considered for a pay adjustment as negotiated with the administrator and approved by the county board.
We have a motion to appoint Mr. Larson as our new administrator.
Second.
And a second. Further discussion. Commissioner Campbell.
I've had the opportunity to work with Stephen in his role as director of the Regional Juvenile Center, and I think he's done really well with all 11 counties, and he's a ball of fire, I guess you could say, and ready to go to work, and I'm looking forward to seeing his leadership grow, and congratulations.
discussion? Anything else? All right, well, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Madam Chair.
Congratulations, Steve.
I did also want to echo both of your comments in regards to the other applicants, and I too think that there was, our internal candidates shined, all of them. They really were very good, and unfortunately, we can only pick one. And I thank all those other applicants for also taking an interest in leading our county, so thank you.
All right. Obviously, with that move, there is another opening that will result because of that.
Yeah, and Madam Chair, I would move that we begin the process to advertise and hire a replacement for Director of the Juvenile Detention Center, and any backfill necessary that may be vacated.
All right.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Campbell and a second by Commissioner Wayland to advertise and begin the process to hire a replacement and possible backfill. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Did you want to say anything?
Thank you guys very much. It's exciting and very humbling. I'm looking forward to working hard the same way I've done, just on a different scale, and to really work with the citizens of Clay County to continue to make what we have here a wonderful place to live, and also for our employees to work closely with them. So thank you for this opportunity.
Yes, thank you. And now you've got a little bit of time, so you can pick Brian's brain in the meantime.
That, you won't need very much.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Mr. Haney, do you have?
Oh, yes. On Thursday, I attended the Lake Agassiz Regional Library full board meeting, 5:30 over at the Moorhead Library, and it was pretty much a routine meeting, just basic reports of the budget and so on, but there was a discussion about the cancellation of the rural cultural bus ride program that was very popular, but because of the events that took place in Canada with the bus ride recently, the liability issues have risen to the forefront, and our regional library system was one of the only ones in the state that was still operating anything like that. All the rest of them had taken that system, that program, and discontinued it as we have as well. So there will not be bus rides to Concordia Christmas concerts from rural areas anymore, which is a shame, but the bus companies put that on the regional libraries to come up with the liability insurance payments for that, and it was cost prohibitive, so. That's my report.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Gross.
Yeah, Tuesday morning after our meeting, we had highway tracking, which Commissioner Campbell's already discussed. The only other thing we discussed also was the speed limits on Highway 9 and 32, and I think Dave's checked into that with those speed limits. I think if you go north on Highway 32, it's 55. Pardon? Highway 9. 55, and if you go south, it's 60. So I guess he's checking on that, and they're going to get back to us on. They're just waiting, I guess, to review the speeds.
Yeah, once District 2 of the committee gets their comprehensive speed studies done, then they just want to make sure that they're all the same. We don't want to have 6 feet right at the county line, I guess, is what I understood.
Okay. And I think the state has said the counties can decide on speed limits on the state roads, isn't it? That
I'm not sure if that failed or not. That was a law that they wanted to give county boards authority to set speed limits on county roads. I'm not sure if that passed or not last session. I don't think it did.
No, it did not happen.
Okay. Tuesday night, I went to the planning commission meeting, which there's Aggregate Industries is asking for an interim use permit for mining, which was approved, after some discussion, lengthy discussion, it was approved, and yeah, I had some concerned citizens on Spring Prairie Township that were concerned about that, but there's plenty of conditions on that that's gonna work out for them. Wednesday had Historical Society, and the gift shop sort of there is working with this honor flight. They're selling stuff and stuff like that, so they're contributing to the honor flight and stuff like that. So it's a new feature for the gift shop there. There's a lot of events going on. You know, of course, we're still encouraging membership. I guess it'd be nice to have everybody in Clay County being a member of of the Historical Society. But they already start working on the budget requests for next year. The Viking Fest, which went on this weekend, I don't know if any of you attended or not, but there's a lot of people there for the Viking Fest there. And they'll be involved in the Barnesville Fair also. They run that schoolhouse there, they're taking the applications there too. Last night I went to the Dilworth City Council meeting. I gave a presentation on the jail. Thank you, Commissioners Campbell, I think, and Wyland. You gave me some pictures to show there, and they were very appreciative of that. I gave an update of what's happening in the county, and a good presentation there. So I mean, Dilworth, their meeting, it was just a lot of projects going on at Dilworth. I mean, like I've mentioned before, they got a 103 lot addition and a 19 lot addition, and they're already selling lots there, and it's going good for them. So it'd be a good addition to Clay County. That's it.
All right, Commissioner Whalen.
I had the jail and LEC meeting yesterday, and as Commissioner Campbell indicated, that's going very well. It's pretty exciting. It's just about ready to move into, so should be a great event when we have the ribbon cutting in July. Had the EDC meetings, the executive committee meeting, and pretty much getting ready for the new president to arrive of that organization about the middle of July, and I'm sure he'll be here to address our board probably shortly after he takes his position. Let's see, I had a Heartland Trail meeting in Osage, and as always, that's interesting. We continue to struggle to find funding for that bike trail and that project. But one of the things we did, well, in Becker County has money in place to complete part of the trail between. But they've got, I think they've got about a 15-mile section they're trying to complete, and they've got funds, but they're still having issues with the DNR trying to get everything organized and get it completed. So, and then we talked about, because of the funding issues and the duration of this thing, that maybe we'll start talking about making it more a regional trail rather than a state trail, and there may be more funds available for that type of a project than there are for a state trail. It just seems to be impossible to get anything done with the state. So that's my reports.
All right, thank you. Last week I had a conversation at Soil and Water in regards to that pollinator habitat, that county-owned property. I'm in the middle of executive director meetings or review meetings for Lakes and Prairies. MetroCog is struggling. They'd like to find a new accounting services provider, so they've had some RFPs that have not gone answered, so we're trying to recruit people to respond to those. I've had a couple meetings in regards to those. And then last week was the Planning Commission, as was noted earlier. There were 2 permits, Aggregate Industries, which thank you to Highway Department for getting on that review form. I think that really reduced the gray area that people had questions about where highway stood on that. And I think it was easy, and I'm excited to use that going forward. So thanks to you and Eric for putting that together. And then the Casons had a conditional use request for a retreat center on their Silver Lake property. That passed as well. The only question I have is, I know there's a vacancy on the Board of Adjustment. Has that been advertised for, Brian? Do you know? Amos
Madam
Ferris
Chair,
asked-
I don't believe it has.
And I think I've had questions since April about that, if there've been people that have applied. So I just want to make sure that we're
Okay, we'll make sure that we're proceeding forward.
I did have Lynn send an ad to all the townships.
Perfect, okay, so,
I did send it out 2 weeks ago.
okay, all right. That will be good to get that filled. Yesterday, Lakeland had their open house at their new Alexandria site. That's exciting for them. They've been renting for a while. It's a gorgeous site. If you're passing through, go take a glance at it. And yesterday, we had the interviews for the administrator position. I think I neglected to thank some individuals for their work in getting that in the works for us. Jennifer from HR really has put a lot of time in and has been very helpful to me in regards to getting everything organized for this board. So thank you to Jennifer for her work on that. Thank you also to Brian and Colleen for getting the information that we'd asked to get it gathered. It really kind of took a group effort to get this one put together. So thank you to everyone for their input, and thanks to everyone that applied. Really, it was, like I said earlier, a great pool of candidates, and that made our job difficult, but we're really excited about the moves forward. So, Brian?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The highway tracking has already been discussed in depth. I attended that as well. Had a meeting with Kathy and Mary from Public Health, reference budget, because as you recall, in your action approved it when you moved planning and zoning down to the second floor and started the shaping of a land management office. We moved the septic inspections and the food and beverage over to public health. And so they wanted to meet and talk about the budget arrangements for that. So we're working through that. Had Tim Dent's evaluation, Joe Olson's evaluation, had a meeting with central administration managers, then had a meeting with Joe on some issues on follow-up and things. He's got a lot on his plate working with. Had another meeting or some exchanges in regards to I had a meeting last Friday morning with April of reference the MPCA grant follow-up again. Then they had the diversion administrative advisory meeting last Friday morning as well. Had a juvenile construction meeting yesterday morning that's already been covered. I think you touched on the, I stepped out for a minute, but the juvenile construction going along very well. It sounds like they're doing a lot of the underground work and getting everything prepped, so they said they're going to start seeing some movement above ground fairly soon. So, and then of course we had the construction updates for the correctional facility on LEC, and I really don't need to add anything more to that. It's just it continues to move along with a few modifications here and there, and we try to keep you informed on that. But just everything is on time and on schedule and on budget, and we're just really pretty pleased with that. Sat in on your interviews yesterday afternoon. You guys did a very good job, I think, of sorting out the candidates. Attended orientation for our new employees yesterday morning as well. And then I've exchanged some information, and there's been a few that have been in on the discussion in here, and your chair, Commissioner Mojo, one of her constituents, we've talked about this a week or two ago in regards to some damage that our state-owned or our county-owned property that was bought with state buyout money, and we are experiencing some damage down there, and we've communicated with the resident and gotten some bills and estimates on that. So we'll push forward with cleaning that up and taking care of that. But there will be more to come on that in the future. So I think that's about it, Madam Chair. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? No, we are adjourned.